everyone, I'm Amelia Newcomb, and today we're talking about cantering and how not to ask your horse to canter. So I did a video, which I'll link up there, about how to ask your horse to canter, but I realized that I really didn't show you guys a lot of the mistakes people make, and so I think this will be really helpful to you. So this is Jacques. He's 7. He's new to dressage, but he's a really super horse, very honest horse, which is a really important quality in a horse. So first off, let me do a good transition to canter. So for a good transition, the first thing I'm thinking about is a good trot. So we're talking probably a working trot, which means that the pole's the highest point. I have energy, he's tracking up, energy and tempo. I have bend on the circle line. I'm gonna sit a few steps, half halt, and slide my outside leg a little back, and he picked up the canter pretty nicely. So now in the canter, your hips kind of make a swish motion from the back to the front of the saddle with the horse's back. So I'm moving my hips with his back, and then if I want to trot, I squeeze my thighs together and a nice trot transition. Okay, so one of the most common mistakes I see people make when they ask for canter is that they lean forward and put their hands up. So here I have a nice trot. Lots of times when people ask for canter, they completely change their body position. So they go like this, and they lean forward, and then they want their horse to canter. So this horse is pretty much a saint, but a lot of horses, if you do that to them, if you lean forward and put your hands up like that, you're gonna really scare them. So better that you keep your hands down, your shoulders back, and ask for canter. And you see how my horse stayed much rounder when I did that. So let me demonstrate once to the right, a bad way of asking for canter. So let me show you. I see a lot of people do this. They have a nice trot. I say, okay, canter, and all of a sudden it's this. Oh, and see, he's so good, but he almost took the wrong lead because he was so surprised because suddenly I'd completely changed how I was riding. Okay, so that's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2, how not to ask your horse to canter, which I see a lot of people do. So they have like a nice trot with good energy, and they're going around. So then what happens is it's time to sit the trot. So because they can't sit that nice forward trot, now they're sitting a trot like this, which is barely trotting, and now suddenly they want to ask for canter. And again, this horse is so good and he does it, but you see how hard that is. Let me try and demonstrate again. So like lots of people, they get this like slow, like they're barely trotting, and then they kind of say, come on, canter, and he does it, but you can see he's pretty well trained, and so he knows to do it, but it requires a lot of coordination and strength from him. So rather, you should be sitting a nice forward trot, that working trot, like where you don't really have to speed up so much to get to canter. So I'm sitting this nice trot, I'm thinking trot, 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 canter. And you saw how that was way smoother of a transition. Oh boy, this horse is so good. He's so tolerant of mistakes. Oh boy. Okay, let me give him a little break. So the third mistake that I see a lot of people do is like when you ask the horse to canter, right, your outside leg goes a little back and your inside leg stays at the girth. What a lot of people do is that, like, instead of like just putting their outside leg a little bit back, they like throw their outside leg way back to here. They take their inside leg off, which causes the horse to just put his butt in and keep trotting. So let me try to do that in front of the camera here. So again, this mistake is if you find your horse just falling in and going faster in the trot, it's probably because you're not using your inside leg. So if I'm trotting here and all of a sudden I just put that outside leg way back, you see my horse, he just put his hips in. He didn't think to canter because I just put my outside leg back and took my inside leg away. So let me show you from this side. So if I kind of do this, I take my inside leg off, my horse isn't going to know to canter. So the correct way to do it, right? Your outside leg indicates the lead, but your inside leg is what gives your horse the impulsion for the canter. So your inside leg has to lift the horse and get that energy that you need for a good canter transition. Good boy. Good boy. So those are just 3 of the most common things that I see people do incorrectly asking their horse to canter. Okay, the end.
Then it rewinds itself back to the start, and I watch it over again. Could it really be the fact I never bought you a designer dress? Or can it be the truth you never loved me? Were those Long Islands really that strong, or an excuse to get a running? Falcon Heights, I call you in a straight 3-4 from grace, and I fell for you before the light even hit your face. Now I wonder why I should've known you